good morning, afternoon, evening, whatever. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the second round of Tales of the Abyss Retro Encounter podcast. Yay! So I don't really know how to start these things. Mike, if you can give me a hand.
Okay, this is episode 81. You are our host, Stephanie Sybydlo.
Thank you.
Third person hosting. We're going to host through Stephanie.
Oh, man.
No. I got the names covered at least.
All right.
So we are joined today by Mike Gamekaiga, Sollosi-kun, and Alana Fringes Bangs Hagues, and we'll be taking you through the second half of Tales of the Abyss. We finished off last time at Sherry Hill? Wait.
Yeah.
Oh my god, why am I forgetting the name? Yeah, Sherry Hill.
You're right.
Sherry Hill.
Yeah, that's where all three of us stopped. Mm-hmm.
This is a very long game, so it did take us a bit of time to get through the rest of it, but we came to, I think, some pretty satisfying conclusions.
It's a solid 40-hour game.
Yeah.
Sherry Hills is less than the halfway point, I would think.
Yeah. I think so, actually. I think a lot of that is mainly just because how disgustingly long one of those dungeons is.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. I think as well, like we were saying in the first episode, the first half is like a whistle-stop tour of the world, and then the second half is literally going back everywhere a few times, re-establishing everything, and so much stuff happens.
Yeah,
it's quite... The break-off point is literally the point where everything just goes, like, everything hits the fan kind of thing, and it's like, oh my god,
yeah.
I can't remember, like, this much stuff happening in a Tales game since
Ever.
Abyss, probably.
It is, like, the only game that actually doubles down on this much story.
Yeah. I mean, if you compare it to something like Symphonia or Eternia, I think there might be fewer places to visit in Abyss, but since you go back to almost all of them and explore each of them multiple times and get real deep into the world of this game, it has maybe more depth than breadth of world and setting than other Tales games, but it was really good. I don't know, the last time I was this invested in one was when I played Vesperia for the first time, and because
worth adding, like, just for all of our viewers, you are the one who came into this brand new. So Alana and I have played this, but you were the one who's
not
brand
brand new. I played like
Roughly.
the first 5 hours or so 10 years ago, and then dropped it. Yeah, and then dropped it for something else. I think I was like, I hadn't even gotten to Axariuth yet, because that was the first thing I remembered like not recognizing. I
feel that's a big milestone too. Like, it's a pretty slow burn up until that point, and then you finally go like, what?
Yeah, the stakes raised considerably after that, and if I had gotten there, I dare say I might have continued further. But so yeah, I'm mostly new. I've played several Tales games. I played like the first 5 hours, but this is my first full completion of it, and I liked it so much. It might not be the last time I play a Tales game. I was quite enchanted by Tales of the Abyss.
Good. You can get yourself those Power Ranger outfits for the second run.
The Abyss Man outfits. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You looked up the name.
Yeah, I did. I looked up a gallery.
Yeah, it's worth it as well. There's some nice backstory.
Right on.
For a certain character as well. So, yeah.
Okay,
and hard.
So one thing that's pretty cool is that I'm pretty sure at one point of the second half of the game is divided up into 3 chapters, but whatever. For the second half is that you basically go between towns for exposition like 5 times. Like, basically it's like town to town to town to town, small dungeon, town to town to town to town. Because I swear to God, yeah, it's just a pure story block. Most of it.
It almost felt like a Legend of Heroes game.
Yeah.
Which are like among the best games ever for world building and dialogue. And they and a bit part of why Abyss I think rises above a lot of other Tales games is that it takes the world building a little more seriously.
Yeah.
To a level that they have literally never visited again.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I've missed it from all of the future ones.
Yeah, because like every Tales game is going to have funky made-up words for magic and deep mythology of how magic works and
80 different types of phonon technologies.
Yeah. and they'll have a crazy way to explain how their steampunk magical tech works. But it'll be but Abyss is the one that I think the story is the most political. The story is the most among the more character-driven ones. Like characters really grow and change, and it respects its villains enough to give them pretty important story roles. I was really impressed with the character work and world building in Abyss. Really impressed.
they seemed pretty real. Like a lot of the politics seemed pretty legit as far as like, the stuff going on. But I do like that, you take Peony pretty seriously as a king. He's pretty fun too, and then you take Engelbert, who's a bit more serious, but you kind of get a lot of good backstory on him. And you get a lot of weird family ties, So I mean, you're not really the prince in this, you're the duke. So I mean, it's kind of interesting just kind of how it shuffles its characters around and your role among them.
If fate had stayed the same way, though, I suppose he'd have been king, wouldn't he?
Yeah, basically.
If the score had been fulfilled, or he'd be dead.
This was something I learned. Like, I actually, I watched a Let's Play just for a few side quests that I kind of missed and just didn't have time for. But they actually even tell you why, like, Luke's dad's not even that close to him is because he knew that he was going to die because of the score. Like, it's just a whole mess of plot that goes on in these side quests, too. Yeah, so...
I didn't.
But then you get Luke's mom, who's very, very doting and almost to a comical amount.
There are so many. There are so many side quests where you go visit Luke's mom, and she just gives you a crazy sum of money or something to complete the quest.
They're like, that's too much. She's not going to learn anything.
But
it's like, oh, okay. Here's significantly less. Here's like, she gives you like $10,000. Like, that's too much. Like, okay, here's 10.
In a way, I mean, I hadn't made that connection that that his dad was aware that he would die due to the score. I didn't encounter that in the game, although I'm sure
there are so many missable side quests that
I'm sure it's buried somewhere that I just didn't find.
These are the things that go on.
But if you think about it, if his mother knew that too, and she probably just spent every waking moment trying to get as close to her son as possible.
Yeah.
It makes her giving you 200,000 gold for a side quest
makes
a little tragic.
He's got to spend what little time he has left, darling. Did you ever do the so I think it's really cool that Ash, I think, officially joins your party 3 times. The first time is for the cavern, which is for a very brief spell, and it's actually just after around that whole Shuri Hill thing. So one thing I like about that one is that it's cool because he joins you because your party's kind of left Luke behind. They're not really interested in that one anymore, that Luke anymore. So they kind of hang out with Ash. The sort of second time is very, very briefly at the end, but then you can also join him for a stupid side quest. Did you guys do that one?
I don't think I did.
I've done it before. I don't like it very much.
I don't either, but it's just cool to kind of have Ash in again.
Okay, so
definitely.
So what happens here? Maybe maybe I could go back to an old save and do it, or maybe I could go because I was worried about locking stuff out.
Well, what's cool too is because he gets his kind of fancy White Ranger outfit as far as the Power Rangers thing goes. So I actually thought that was really
so you have
clever.
to go and do it.
He's the White Ranger? That's weird. He seems like a 6th joining Ranger, so he should have been...
Well, that's what it was. Yeah, he's like the 6th special Ranger, but his outfit's white, I think.
Yeah. Oh, the White Ranger's been the extra Ranger a couple times. But whatever. But he should be... It should have been like silver or black or something.
Uh-huh.
Oh, God. These podcasts
my title
apparently...
card for you is very on purpose.
These podcasts are also apparently the coming out of me as a Power Rangers fan, but whatever.
Okay, yeah. So what it is Luke's mom is sick, and you can get a special herb if you go to it's basically a mushroom dungeon. It is kind of gross, and it's always the color purple and foggy and spory. It's a very difficult intentionally pain in the ass dungeon to navigate, but it's just you get some more time with Ash, basically.
So it's the Aurum Vale of dungeons in Tales of the Abyss. Got it.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Great.
I would say that.
But there's actually a lot of extra content in the game, so I think that's pretty cool too.
Yeah, there are so many timed side quests, and
did you do the Cecile and Frings thing?
I did that. I did do that one.
Yeah.
That one, I like both of them together a lot.
Yeah, this was my favorite side quest.
They actually make fun of you for spending too much time with it, so I kind of like that. At least they know.
And
Tales, kind of bad.
Tales games have had matchmaking side quests like this since the beginning. Because there's in like the second or third town of Tales of Fantasia, you can meet a young couple who and the father of the boy opposes the relationship, and you can play. Well, what's the Austen novel? Play Emma Woodhouse a little bit.
Emma, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you can?
Yeah, you can. You can choose to. You can like advise them to stay together or break up and reconcile with his dad or not. And when you travel to the future in that game, you can find their descendants or not find their descendants depending on what happens.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but
That's
it's
so
Those games
cool.
have actually done the relationship shit really, really nicely.
They
I
do,
love
yeah.
it. Yeah. And like even like Tales of Vesperia, where it didn't really have a committed couple, still played with its relationships incredibly well, and so did Abyss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Abyss especially for including a lot of NPCs into the mix.
Oh, the Cecile and Frings quest is so sad.
Yeah.
I didn't do it this time around, but I've done it on both previous playthroughs, and I'd forgotten the bit where Aslan dies, where he goes. So you don't know, if you don't do the side quest, it's really vague because he dies and he says, please keep her safe or protect her. And you just think, who's he talking about? And then when I replayed it, I suddenly remembered that entire arc and just thought, I need to go and rewatch this. Because if I remember rightly, Cecile was taken in by Ken Lasker, wasn't she? So she's not Ken Laskin and owes kind of a debt to
Yeah,
the
basically.
Duke. Yeah.
Yeah, she's
a fallen noble, and she has to join the army to kind of regain her rank and everything. She's also related to Guy. Guy's father is her father's brother or something like that.
they're
Oh,
she's
I
Guy's
forgot about that.
cousin,
That's why he
right?
gets the outfit.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I really like that side quest just for kind of how clever it is. I think it something that I forgot that I found quite irritating with some Tales side quests is how long they take, where you have to go back and forth, and like you have to wait 20 hours and then go back and do one thing. If you don't do that one thing, that entire quest is gone. And
Yeah,
The Ant-Man one is really bad too. It's one of those
the Ant-Lion man, yeah.
Ant Lion,
you get cut off. Any point where you could go to Cassidonia and you don't, you're cut off. That's it. You get a really good item, but that cut off is brutal.
Tales of has been doing this for a long time. There's a lot of event flags and breakpoints for lengthy side quests that can last the whole game. And going into this, assuming there would be stuff like this, I asked Steph before playing this if there was much missable content, and she said, "Yeah, there is some. Here, check this guide." And you pointed me to a non-spoiler side quest guide that had a list of it was like a 60-page thing of just all of the side quests and when the different steps in each quest lock out. So I followed that to do the Antlion Man quest and the Frings quest, but I didn't do all of them because there was just so many, and I was in a little bit of a rush to finish the game.
Yeah.
But like the richness and the depth of these side quests is really impressive. Like the romance one is good.
There's no
have
bad
good
side
rewards.
quest in it for the most part.
I really
they're all pretty good.
I really liked how the guy finding all of the old sword masters of his former nation, because it's in a way it's him reconnecting with his past a little bit, but also getting a bunch of good sword techniques. And
actually a really good way of putting it. It reconnects him with his past because the whole Hod thing is just a pretty big cornerstone of the plot and certainly a big part of his arc.
Yeah,
it works out really well for him. I think he goes off to be a noble again. So
it
was really impressive. Like the every side quest, almost all of them started in the first half and lasted a pretty long while and had sort of like narrative rewards and tangible rewards. There's just good JRPG quest design all over this game.
Yeah, it's honestly a cut above. It really is. So whenever people are looking for a story RPG, I definitely always say go play Tales of the Abyss. You'll be playing a lot of story.
And I never finished this game before now, and but I did play all of Tales of Legendia, and now I'm looking back at that time. I was like, why the hell was I playing Tales of Legendia with its terrible dungeons and awful repeated second half when I could have been playing this instead.
And like even the dungeons aren't the best, but at least the sort of Yulia trials are kind of interesting.
Yeah, there's only two.
No dungeon makes it stay too long, except for the radiation gate, I guess.
The absorption gate.
Sorry, thank you.
The absorption gate was pretty rough, but I mean, I think that we had worse dungeons a couple months ago when we played Shadow Hearts Covenant. So
definitely, they're definitely fine. There's none that particularly stand out as amazing. I like the final dungeon for its simplicity and the design of it, and blinking back to Guy, it's the whole coming back around. You've got the idea of you've got this whole image of Hod building up for the entire game, and then they resurrect the replica version of Hod in Eldrin.
Yeah.
And so it's you're working your way inwards. You're just thinking, oh my god, and then you get inside, and Jesus Christ,
There's a
is
lot
it
of
pretty.
parts to it. That's what it's almost very like old school Final Fantasy that way. There's just a lot of parts to this dungeon worth taking in.
Yeah.
Even like you can actually go see Yulia's grave, and same with that. It's
You
just a really pretty
can.
sight. Yeah.
And also the like the final dungeon has story connections. It's not empty.
Yeah.
It's not empty corridors in space with floating, with floating like geometry all around you. You're learning about the characters even more and about the plot even more going through the
Yeah.
final dungeon, and it's really impressive.
I was trying to think of the last final dungeon that I'd played that had cutscenes to break it up and also still give you story, because usually the final dungeon, well, in Bessaria's case particularly, it's just kind of like, oh, we're going to go in and fight the person, and then you just walk through a
Okay,
3-hour
well,
dungeon.
I'm going to cheat in saying this. For me, it was Persona 5, which I finished a few days ago.
Okay.
Because
Fair enough. Oh, yeah.
they have stuff happens in that final dungeon, but
Absolutely.
you're right. It's not something you see that often. And in Tales of the Abyss, I think that most of the dungeons are very good RPG dungeons that don't feel too long. Because sometimes, I mean, the three of us have played through so many JRPG dungeons over our lifetimes, I'm sure. But sometimes, like around the 3/4 mark, you're ready for the dungeon to end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel that way very much in this game.
Yeah. I mean, Berseria was a bad example because it's an example of a final dungeon that I hate, which is basically just flying geometric shapes in space.
The dungeons
so...
in that game were just bad to begin with. I don't know how they
Exactly.
didn't fix it.
Because they didn't fix it from Exilia, or even partially Graces a little bit, which wasn't as bad, but yeah.
Two words for that: battery dungeon.
Oh, no.
Hey,
Nightmares.
remember how you hated the dungeons in the first half of Tales of Legendia? Let's run through every single one again.
Yay!
The worst part about that was that even if you had all the holy bottles, for whatever reason, the random encounter rate still meant you'd still get 2 battles for every holy bottle.
Right, yeah.
Wow,
And
what?
of course I know that because that whole second half you play through and you're just like, ugh. So, yeah, see, I don't know why they went to the random bottle. It's just so much better when you can run into the enemies or carefully run away from them.
Definitely.
But yeah, off topic. One thing I did like about Tales of the Abyss, though, was given the hardware, they actually had a really great use of CGI cutscenes instead.
Yeah,
So when they're
that was
actually
good.
illustrating what the Abyss looks like and how things are happening,
Definitely.
it's a lot to take in when you don't know what's going on at first. But actually, like, to see, like, even the Tartarus going down into the crust of the earth or whatever, like, it just looks interesting.
I really like that.
Also,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, I'm going to stay on the Persona 5 train a little bit.
Go ahead.
It's kind of
No
cool
spoilers.
that so many of the towns in Abyss are named after the not
Kabbalah?
biblical,
Kabbalah, yeah.
the Kabbalah Sephiroth, and
Yeah.
I didn't realize that until I was playing Persona 5 and noticed that the different floors of Mementos are also named after Sephiroth.
Yeah, did
So-
you?
Was it when you got to Xerius and you just went, I know
No,
that
it
word.
was Kite Zul, which is the same
Yeah.
as which is Kite Zur in Abyss, and
yeah,
and
Quetzal and then
and-
Cock.
yeah, and one of the last ones is Cliffoth in Persona 5.
Mm.
So they really like making the different towns literal Sephiroth trees, like the trees of knowledge in the Kabbalah, and basically they carry a vague Kabbalah metaphor that's not totally wrong.
Yeah.
It's whatever. It's
Yeah.
it's another little cool
it's
touch.
a great addition. No, and I remember thinking that while I was playing that too. Actually, I didn't quite piece it together as well as you did, where they literally just kind of put it as these towns floating above and supported by the Sephiroth. That's actually really clever. As it is, yeah, like in the Kabbalah. But yeah. Let's see. Some of the fights start to get really good at the end. Particularly, there's the 3 God General fight, which I always really, really, really like.
Right.
I love that. You mean the one on Mount Rainier?
I do.
Yeah, I love that. That's probably one of my favorite bits.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
a fun battle system to Merc. I definitely used Guy my entire run this time.
I switched
way
between
better.
Luke and Guy like a boring person. When I was trying to do some Coliseum fights for weapons, I ended up doing some solo work with the other characters, but none of it was that fun other than Jade. But
yeah,
but yeah.
Guy and Luke are definitely comfortable.
If
Guy,
if I didn't rush a little bit playing this, I probably would have put some more time into Annis and Tyr, but it just didn't happen.
no,
And
it's
this is a
fine.
lot of fun. Natalia's okay. Tyr is just too boring. I can't do the mage thing. It wasn't
I
until Tales of Graces I could do the mage thing.
Yeah, Tales of Grace has made maging fun, and actually Berseria and all most of the CC battle systems you do maging really well, and the TP
Yeah.
ones don't. Although Exilia is probably a bit of an outlier in that because Rowan is extremely fun to play as, and
His gimmick is the greatest, yeah.
his gimmick is amazing. Yeah, I
He
bolstered the
conducts
whole
with
game.
his sword like a baton. It's awesome.
He
Beautiful.
does. I had played the game as Natalia for the most part, just because I wanted a bit of a challenge, but obviously where I powered through. Most of her skills are linked to side quests, so I only had like 6 arrow
Aw.
skills. Yeah, but she's actually quite an easy archer to play as. I mean, I'm maybe used to it because I play on manual anyway, so I like kind of figuring out, oh wait, I'm not firing at the enemy, let's play around. She's got some nice variation in her. I feel a bit bad for her and Annis because maybe one criticism I can aim at Abyss is that there is a solid party that pretty much everybody will use, and that is Luke, Guy, Tyr, and Jade, and that's
Yep.
it. And you don't really need to touch Annis or Natalia. So I thought I'm going to try and change it up and get rid of Luke and put Natalia in instead and play as her and have Guy with all the physical attack rather than all the agility and see where that goes. But
I got rid
yeah.
of Jade this time around, which I don't like because he's probably one of the most reliable ways to create
Yes.
field of phonons.
Oh,
He's
definitely.
The most
Yeah.
reliable. He was the person I had the hardest time keeping out of my party.
Yeah,
Then
definitely.
it just always helps when you get a win quote from him.
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
And also,
Um,
I'm gonna run it back a little bit. How we talked about how the side quests were so good and how they got deep into the different characters. A lot of Tales games have a side quest where you get ultimate weapons or special weapons, and the one in this game with the Nebulum weapons or Nephilim weapons. No Nebulum, right?
They
The
changed them.
Nebulum
So these are the
doesn't
devil
matter.
arms, I
Yeah.
think.
No, they're usually called Devil Arms, but okay, Luke's is
They're
called
Nebulum.
Luke's is called the Nebulum, and sometimes all of them are called Nebulum because it's confusing. But anyway, it goes into Jade's past in a really interesting way, in a recurring side quest where that has happened in multiple times in Tales games. I never finished that boss fight because I got wrecked hard when I challenged her once, and then I just decided to leave her alone and beat the game.
Oh, did you
The
have
one
a
thing
go
I
at
hate,
Nebulum?
Yeah.
it's weird, but I actually love using Annis for that fight. I don't know why.
Wow.
I
Yeah,
don't know. It just really works out well for me.
Annis is
But
quite.
it was also really weird. Like when I was playing Chocobo Racing, I could only beat the final stage with the chubby Chocobo. I don't know. I'm weird, I guess.
Yeah, Annis is a really strange tank character because she's actually I suppose I can compare her to Alvin in Exilia in that they're both tanky, but they have some really nice spinny link moves that you can do like really long, fast hitting combos with. So she has
Mhm.
like Dragon Surge and whatever the spinning one is. I can't remember because I've only played as her like once or twice, but she's nice as a tank character, and she's also got the magic as well to break it up with. So she's unusual to play as. I just like Tokunaga though. I think
At the
Tokunaga
very
deserves.
least, like they did actually make a pretty great balanced party between all 6 of them in that game.
Yeah,
They did, yeah.
they did.
I think actually Ash is
Definitely.
probably the worst at that point, just because his skill set doesn't
Yeah.
really favor anything, which sucks for the few times you do get
He's
him.
like half Jade and half Luke, and it doesn't work
And it
at
doesn't
all.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
Like a
exactly.
less good version of Kratos or Zelos, maybe.
Exactly, yeah.
Yep.
Because I thought I would really enjoy playing as him because I mained Kratos and Zelos in Symphonia, and I did not. Like,
And
no.
he feels more like a traditional Tales swordsman than Guy or Luke because a lot of the classic Tales skills, like some go to Guy, some go to Luke, and he feels more like Kratos or Zelos than the other ones do. But just the second time you get him, because I didn't do the one where you get him the third time, he feels like a less good version of one of them.
Yeah, which just sucks for the few times that you get him, because he's actually a really interesting character, and I'm definitely going to be bringing that up again.
And I should mention, when Alana mentioned in the first episode we did of this that Natalia is still sort of holding a torch for Ash. I didn't quite get it because I had only seen the cavern stuff where I didn't exactly get all their relationship, but then it's abundantly clear.
We'll get into that soon. I'm actually
yeah.
gonna do like another cast call kind of thing, and we'll kind of go through it all because there's a lot to say
casting
about them.
call. Got it.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, you know what? To hell with it. Let's just get into it now. So
Oh, boy.
let's talk about the characters, but this time I'm also going to throw in some of the god generals into it too.
Yes. I want to
Okay.
talk about the God Generals.
we got a bit more information about them this time. The first time they're just kind of like they're in the way, but now we actually finally get what their deal is. So first, heroes. We're gonna go in order roughly by when they join. So Tyr, what'd you guys think up until the end? Now that you know more about her, I guess.
I
She's
really like her.
pleasant.
She's
Yeah.
great. She is. I think where she kind of just is become something about her. I really like her as a character, and I like this kind of stoicism she walks around with, and I like the kind of the
I
running
love when
joke that she loves cute things. Like
yeah,
that's very me, and
Yeah,
I like that. But
I love when
I
Luke is reading the letters that he gets from everybody. He's like, this reads like a report. You know,
yeah, I
like,
love that
she can really
bit.
yeah,
write a letter.
she,
So yeah,
she
she's just go on.
I'm with you. I like how stoic and sort of buttoned up she is, but whenever there's a thought bubble of her observing something being cute, it's always a good humor moment that humanizes her a little bit.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
and even though she's a little icy to everyone, including Luke, she's the one that was maybe the most steadfast to him, because she was the one that stayed with him and sympathized with him the most after Xeriuth fell. And
Definitely.
and of course they hint at romance between her and Luke for a lot of the game.
They laid it on pretty thick at the end.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they did.
One thing that's actually really cute is if you watch that, like you never have any reason to read the synopsis. I mean, the game already gives you way more than enough plot to deal with. But if you actually look at the one that happens after the, final battle, night hangout, you actually basically hear a lot of gushy ramblings from Luke himself.
Aw.
Yeah, he's basically like, she
I
looked
didn't
really,
find that
really
one.
pretty, and I wish I said something else and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's
That's
nice
literally
because
hidden, though.
you do have a sense of how long Tales of the Abyss is with the length of the side quests, and also you do get dates and you also get periods of time. So I think the gap between part 2 and part 3 is about a month, and you do feel that there is some sort of relationship blossoming as you go along. So it's not like it's a JRPG that's happened in like a week and it's oh, let's get married, let's go. And
Definitely happens over time.
yeah, and it's
Yeah, like, I can't really pinpoint a
subtle
moment.
enough.
Yeah, because she really hated him for a while, it sounds.
Yeah,
Right.
definitely. And she's the
I don't
one
know.
who sort of knocks it all into him and just knocks him about a bit and goes, stand up on your own 2 feet a little bit.
Yeah, and, to her credit, she totally went out and definitely did the thing she was meant to do, was to kill her brother, and she did.
Yeah, she did it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I
So,
love her
yeah, so I
scenes,
do like some of the internal struggles she kind of deals with, in that her body is kind of falling apart and, her brother's being a big dick, and yeah, so she's got a lot of issues.
She didn't
Myster-
quite kill her brother enough though the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only two other main thoughts I have about her is, one, she's probably one of the few chicks who actually look really good in brown, and two, Mysterica is still the worst name I've ever heard in my life.
Okay, I'm
Yep.
gonna defend Mysterica 0% of the time, but I think brown's an underrated color. I wouldn't mind seeing more RPG characters in brown.
Yeah,
Really good.
The guy in Zillia is brown heavy.
Alvin!
Yeah.
Oh.
Alvin dresses in brown and looks good in it.
I
Yeah.
will fight you
Totally
for Alvin.
underrated color.
Hmm.
It is.
Who
It
doesn't like
suits
chocolate?
him.
All right.
It's Rouse's finest.
Okay, so next is Annis.
Okay, if you had told me at the beginning of the game that there was going to be a betrayal from one of these 6 main characters, that takes place in the second half and is a major
Would you have said
is
Jade?
it is a major plot point, I might have ranked Annis last.
Yeah,
I'm
although
literally just sitting here making a face. I was just waiting for reactions on this. Go.
Yeah.
Right. It's
Yeah.
but I don't. I think the game pulled it off pretty well. Like it established why she may do that. Before it happened, it established where her loyalties were and why she acted the way she did. So that part didn't bother me. That twist felt earned. I just find her a little annoying in general. Like her character
fair.
traits of hitting on dudes that seem like they have money, and just and how she acted. She acted, like a child most of the time, but being like a bodyguard and special agent for the church are not things children should be doing.
yeah.
One thing
it-
I liked is that they did set it up that she is a 13-year-old girl and her parents
Right.
matter to her, as many
Yeah.
of 13-year-olds I'm sure would keep their family close.
Yeah, geez, how many young teens or preteens in RPGs have we played where the parents are absent,
I know,
Or
hers are
they're-
actually alive. And she's trying to
Loads.
keep them that way.
maybe it's just a mom that's at home that you have to call periodically so you avoid getting homesick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, Alice's betrayal is a bit strange.
One thing I
I,
like is that Jade is pretty keen, like he's pretty well aware of it, and they even almost make fun of how ridiculous she's being. So
Jade just knows everything though. He's just literally
yes.
walking around like, I know what's happening here. Oh, Jade,
Well,
what's wrong?
literally, if Jade had not
Nothing
been
yet.
born,
Yeah,
yeah, if
it's like
Yeah.
Jade had not been born, nothing would have happened in this game.
yeah, he does a lot of just explaining what is happening to everyone present.
Well, so
And
does Guy.
Or,
well,
or, or making
Guy
Guy
does,
do it.
yeah, Guy does too. But I mean, I'm not sure if I don't think he knows everything that's going on exactly, but he
No.
seems to instantly understand everything as it's happening.
I don't know
Yeah.
if that's good or bad, if it suits him, or if it's just a good way to kind of shove it all onto one character. But one thing I did like is that we're just going to segue right into Jade because we're done with Ennis.
Oh no,
One thing I
I
did.
want to say something about Spanish.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
I want to have a whinge because I really don't like the way that the party deal with it at all, her betrayal. It really,
Yeah.
really annoys me. It's just kind of like they get it. I like the setup. It makes sense. I think her betrayal amongst Tails' characters is probably my least favorite, or maybe second least favorite after someone in Hearts. But
She's no Leon, that's for sure.
she is no Leon and she's no Alvin. Alvin is the equivalent of her obviousness, but it's
Yeah,
more poignant.
yeah. Okay, spoilers for Tales of Exilia. Alvin,
It's
but
so obvious.
yeah, it's so
Alvin's
obvious,
is tragic though.
and they even have
Yeah.
cutscenes where like the person infiltrating the party is off screen and you can't see who it is, but it's so obviously him from the beginning.
Yeah,
But
I think his is my favorite in the series, as well as maybe Zealous and
One thing I
Kratos's.
liked
I'm
is
just
that, like,
spoiling
even though
everything.
Alvin's was obvious, is that at least it was interesting. Like, he had a
Oh
pretty
yeah,
yeah,
damn good reason for the things he did.
no,
yeah.
and
Any
Alvin's a good character. I still
oh
find Annis annoying for many reasons, even though you can justify her betrayal. But
Her
yeah,
mystic arc goes on
it,
way too long too.
I
yeah.
might be slightly unfair because I do not prefer using children characters in games with adults. Like
No,
if they're all teenagers, then whatever. But when there's like obvious adult characters and then one character that's
there's,
10 years younger than everyone else, it's like, oh man, get this guy out of my party, please.
there's two adults and also
But
there's
not
like
Guy.
two
Guy stays in
teenagers
my
who are
party.
like adults.
Guy stays in my
Exactly.
party. That guy leaves my party, please.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't like how the party just kind of accept it. So they're just kind of like, oh, we get why you did it. It's fine. Come on. It's like,
The one
no.
thing I don't like is, yeah, like, so Luke destroyed Xeriath and they gave him a real hard time about it,
Yeah,
and rightfully
Hmm.
so.
Yeah.
and
Annis killed Ion.
yeah,
I
Hmm.
love
and
to death. I think Ion is a great NPC.
Ion is excellent, and that entire scene, I cried my way through it. And every time, it's one of the scenes in the game that just kind of hits a note in me because Ion is such a really, really well balanced character and a really nice character, and
Yeah,
is
in a way,
how
he's
you.
pure. Like,
Yeah, he is. He is
Yeah.
completely. Yeah,
and
You know,
it's
he's willing to, kind of screw people over if it means the greater good. And for the most part, the game, and its heroes are definitely about the greater good, and Ion's always game to join for that. And so I like that he kind of tags along for quite a bit of it.
definitely. We can talk about Iron later, I
Yes,
think.
please. Yeah, I'd love to.
Mhm.
So Anna's pretty good, not great. Jade, I think we all love. I love Jade and the sense of history that you get with him.
I love Jade as well and his backstory. I
He's the
love
oldest character, and I think they do a lot with that.
he's 35 and my back hurts. Like,
35,
really?
yeah.
Really? No, Jade is a really, really, really good character because he's there for comedic effect, but essentially, like you were saying, if Jade had never been born, this game wouldn't exist because he
Mhm.
invented Fomicry. He is basically like he has made Dist the way the Dist is. He's,
I just love his stupid tirades with Dist.
oh, Dist is
They
my
are so
favorite.
one-sided. Like Dist thinks he is so cool. He himself is so cool, and has this persona of like Dist the Rose, and thinks he's
Dist is me.
yeah exactly. But
They don't
Jade
treat him
just
seriously, and I'm glad.
Jade
Ever.
shuts him down at every opportunity, and it is beautiful.
Did they used to be friends, or was it like Dist kind of the snotty kid who just kind of hung around them?
I
Friendly
think they were
rivals.
I
Yeah.
think they were friendly rivals where Jade was obviously more brilliant than Dist. But they had, they were the two star students with the same teacher, and then
I
they
bet Dist on
parted
his own
ways.
would have shined, but because he was born around the same star as Jade, it just never really worked out for him.
It's just an accident.
Right.
Yeah.
He was the
But then-
Salieri to Jade's Mozart.
And then it was killing Professor Nebulum that drove Dist insane, essentially. So Jade goes off to the Curtis family, and Dist is left to kind of go insane.
One thing I do like
And
is
the
despite
go ahead.
despite how like troubled Jade's history is, he really balanced out. Like he is probably one of the more level-headed people ever. He's apparently known for having killed many people, and certainly he's a war general, so he probably does kill a lot of people on the battlefield. But he is probably the most level-headed in the party.
He's more aware of his crimes than anybody else, but he deals with it in an approachable
And I think he's sorry
way.
for it. And I think he's always trying to make up for it. And he's an adult, so he doesn't really dote on the drama of it all. He's just doing his thing to make it better.
Yes,
He's already over it. He's over his teens. Yeah.
Jade and Peony are excellent together.
Very good. I love Peony's bedroom. Oh my god.
I love Peony's wrappings. The one that's called Jade.
I don't know if did you see that where it's like Peony has a whole bunch of pet pigs basically, and his room is a mess because I think he just keeps them all there, and they're all named after people in his life.
Yeah,
kind of weird, but kind of cute.
There's a side quest where you have to find them
great.
all. Yeah, it's great. I think Jade is a fan favorite. He still like tops the character polls, and
he's a deserved. I think he's a deserved fan favorite. He
came back for Tales of Zillias as a cameo boss, and they even got the same voice actor to come in again. And
in the arena cameo boss.
Basically,
Cool.
I think it's Exilia 2, isn't it? Or is it the first?
I can never keep straight who the different cameo bosses are, because they bring back 3 or 4 for every new game, and they're pulled from everywhere in the city everywhere in the series. I would remember that it's Kless and Arche in Eternia, but beyond that, I can remember 0 of them.
Yeah. But yeah, like he was a good choice for that. He's popular, and I just remembered because of his Pac-Man belt. Actually, did you guys go to the Secret City?
Yes,
I love that Secret City.
Yeah, you have to get the extra flight stone, don't you, for the Albior to do it? So
yeah, they make it easy to access after that. But like Sollosi, if you can access that Secret City, if you like kind of retro gaming,
I don't think I did, but okay.
It's worth it.
It's like it's a fandom city basically, so it's got loads of Namco references on it.
So is it like Namco Banda Isle like that?
Yeah.
Yes,
okay,
it's exactly the same thing. Yeah.
Got it.
Which is actually really cute because it's headed like you see the Darkwings do. Actually, you know what? We'll get into that soon. Okay, Guy, what do we think about Guy?
Best friend.
And how like he is the best guy. Okay, he's like at the wedding he'd be the best man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Guy is the best example of the best friend character, and he does the bro thing really well. So he's both a mentor and a friend. So he's not like just like, oh, Luke, it's fine. Like he'll go up and he'll slap Luke in the face if he's not happy with what he's done and go, you need to grow up a minute. And then he's just like, I'm going to help you, but just grow up and I'll be there the whole way. So Guy has got my favorite backstory as well with Hod, and especially when you go to the Isle of Ferris for the first time. I really like that dungeon, and the music's really cool there.
I do wish they spent more time to hit Luke and him just kind of being chummy, the way you get like with Mikleo and Soraya, I guess.
I think so as well, but they might not have been, I don't know.
They focused more on the plot of it all and the overall picture. But one thing, so you do learn a big piece of backstory is that he was actually in cahoots with Van.
Yeah.
But it didn't work out, fortunately.
No,
yeah, so go on.
I particularly really like the scene in Yulia City where they're having the conference, and Guy just goes, hang on a minute, I need to do something. And he literally draws his sword at Duke Farbry, and he's like, are you kidding? Guy, like, you're supposed to be really nice. And it's like,
something tells me he was totally willing to talk, though, because he was actually really good about putting it away as soon as they kind of, talked it out.
Yeah, but
so I think
still,
in
the moment, he couldn't believe what he was hearing, though. Especially as a survivor of Hod.
Yeah, definitely. He was really angry, but he's beyond it now. And I think he says near the end of the game,
I've learned to put my lid that you could actually go to Hod, like the actual island.
Yeah, well, the replica's good enough. And yeah, it's really horrible when you see his house. Like he spends like a couple of seconds going.
No, like
"Hang
on
a
the
minute."
world map, you can actually visit the old spot where Hod was. It's that nasty,
Yeah, you
yeah,
can.
dirty, thundery island, but it
That's
is
right.
there. It exists.
Yeah.
I thought
And
that
I was like,
I
huh?
thought that exploring the replica Hod was maybe it was a really good choice to see that replica Hod because it put the scope of Master Van's plan into place.
Into
Like
some action.
yeah, it's like he wanted to replace the entire world with replicas like Luke and one of the Ions, and you hear that and you're like, okay, whatever, that seems ridiculous. Oh wait, here's a replica of something we all assumed was gone and didn't exist.
So
Yeah.
it actually made
Whoa.
it somewhat feasible that his
Yeah,
idea.
it made the idea seem feasible and gave you sort of like like almost a preview of his grand plan,
Mhm.
and with his plan seeming real, made him seem like more of a threat. I thought it was a really cool choice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we all agree Guy is just a great guy.
Mm.
I think they kind of hinted at some romance between him and Natalia at the end. I don't know, but
Yes, I am all in favor of this. I
I think
really
it's cute
am.
as far as like Natalia has. I don't know. She's kind of got her whimsies about her, and she just kind of gets almost spirited away into romance kind of thing quite easily.
I think
Yeah.
that they're an interesting match because Guy is a noble without a kingdom, and she is a princess who isn't actually a noble. And
Yeah.
and sort of
Yeah.
by having those backgrounds, they are both extremely good at what they are. Like Guy's the most gentlemanly, like great talker, would be a terrific noble, and Natalia was a replacement princess basically, but she's more beloved by the people than the actual royal family because she cares about her position as princess. And you remember that when they were escaping from the castle, like random townspeople were throwing themselves at guards to cover for Natalia.
That was
Yeah.
beautiful.
Oh, that was
Yeah.
horrible.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
that's
was
so good.
so. I think. And when you learn about the stuff with her and Largo, which I didn't quite understand at the beginning, but it became sort of obvious, and I'm surprised I did miss it when it was brought out into the open. But I thought her connection to Largo sort of worked, and she was a mostly likable character, but she has maybe the least present story role in the last third of the game or so, and she mostly walks around to give your party legitimacy.
Yeah.
Like people will listen to you because Princess Natalia is with you.
I've got a real soft
sometimes.
spot. I've got a real
I-
soft spot for Natalia, and I really like her. She's probably my favorite
She puts her
female.
actions where her mouth is, so I do like that
Yeah.
she is
Yeah.
indeed a really nice princess. She's not a bratty princess at all. She kind of has airs, but she's not a brat.
Yes, she has
Yeah.
airs like they could adjust her character a little bit and make her into a brat, but they never did that.
No, they
No,
fixed
and
that
she's
quite
just
quick.
polite the entire way through, and she's actually quite pleasant on screen. You can't really hate her.
Yeah.
No, she's not. She's not unlikable. I thought Annis was more annoying than Natalia by a long shot. But
One thing I do like is that they actually do go pretty good at at Ash remembering her, and like their romance is really bittersweet in a way. I hate
Yeah.
talking about video game romance, but I thought what they had was really sweet.
what are you talking about? You were on an episode about video game romance with Alana and I.
Yeah.
So why
She's
say
being
you hate talking
sarcastic.
about it? Okay.
She's
Okay.
sarcasm.
Calm down,
I'm,
Jade.
I'm a super cool tomboy who doesn't want to reveal that side that I enjoy
Yeah.
good romance, okay?
I
Whatever.
completely get you.
Whatever. I'm a super uncool nerd, and I like seeing some romance in RPGs on occasion.
Okay. Okay, so last but not least, Luke. He changes.
Mhm.
I
Sure
did like
does.
what you guys say. He becomes a lot more very typical, but it really is for the better.
Yeah, he's
He
a
becomes
good.
incredibly likable.
Yeah.
And I think his time to shine was definitely the Rems Tower thing,
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
He had good moments there.
where it's like where he's sacrificing himself, and in the middle of thinking that he's gonna die, he doesn't want to, and he's doing it because he knows it's the right thing.
It's really strange playing. I think probably what most Americans did is play Symphonia, and then I believe Abyss did Legendia or Abyss come out first. I think Abyss was before Legendia.
I think you're right.
So you play through Symphonia with Lloyd, who is basically like nobody should be born for the sake of dying, and then Luke goes through the entire last arc of the game, going, "Why should I deserve to live? I should sacrifice myself."
Yeah.
It's a really strange juxtaposition between the two games, but I get Luke. I get it because he spends so much of the game thinking he's so inferior, and then there's this one trigger moment where he survives the Tower of Rem and he just goes, no, I'm gonna die. I don't want to die. I found why I want to live, because his reason for living is just that he wants to live. There is no other thing for it. He doesn't have to have some justification for it, which
was pretty big for a clone, right? That was his whole thing, is that, well, Ash is back, so what am I here for? You know, why am I allowed to live at the manor still? I'm not me. His meaning for life was literally just to find that meaning. It was just to be his own person.
And I mean, some characters have struggles like that, like the sort of I don't deserve to live feeling. But with him, it's almost literal, because he is literally a clone of someone who is not dead, and the original resents him for existing.
Yeah.
And and after he screws up at Xeriuth, it exacerbates all of it, with the idea that he doesn't deserve to live. And
I think it's great that he goes from not deserving to live to going to Rem Tower and saying how he doesn't want to die either.
And when you take that feeling of I don't deserve to live to that moment where he declares that he wants to live, and I think when you add those, it makes his character change to a more traditional, more positive attitude person a lot more impressive.
One thing I like is that, I actually hated it too, that, he still goes, Master Van, and then you got Mew, who's always like, Master, and Luke still treats Mew like shit, so I feel like nothing was learned.
Poor Mew.
He does a little bit less abuse towards Mew towards the end of the game.
Less abuse. He still calls him a thing and still says Mew is very annoying. And I don't know. I think that's still felt by the audience.
Yeah, there's less picking up Mew and throwing him down and just kicking him away. But still, what did Mew do to? What did Mew do to deserve that, man? He has, unlocked so many treasure chests for you with his smashing and fire and everything.
Exactly, and his flying. He's so cute when he flies.
That's why.
Mew's a pretty good mascot character, and they didn't overuse him. He could have gotten way more annoying.
He doesn't beat Rolo.
No, you know what? I'm with Luke, man. I think he's terribly annoying.
I quite like Mew. I think he gets more hate than he deserves. But then again, I like most of the mascots, apart from the Norman in Zestiria and Berseria. They do my head in, and
Norman is an example of trying too hard.
Exactly.
The cute hat and the big eyes and the cute phrases. No, I'm more of a Rapide person. Just give me a dog that follows you around and kind of does cool things.
Yeah, okay, he's not as good as Rapide or Blanca or Koromaru or all those good RPG dogs, but I didn't think he was, I don't think he negatively impacted the game by existing.
No, that's true.
Which sometimes I feel like that about certain characters, but I wasn't bothered by
the monsters, so that was actually a bit of a bonus.
Right.
It was a nice take on the Sorcerer's Ring idea, anyways.
Yeah, it was.
So that was
Team
pretty
Rolo.
cool.
I'm Team Rolo here.
Team Rolo.
Yeah.
I'm afraid to ask. What game is Rolo from? I can't remember.
Xillia 2.
Okay, that's
basically
why I haven't
he's
played
the leader of all the cats, and you do cat search parties, and
yes.
Wait, so he's like the king of all the cats in the city or something?
It's a really big cat, yeah.
And then you do. Okay, that is pretty cool.
Very chubby kitty.
I have not played Xillia 2. I had no idea who Rolo was, and Alana's mentioned him a couple times over the past couple episodes. But I just stayed quiet until now. But all right, Rolo seems okay.
Rolo seems okay, yeah. That one's not bad. So in the end, we like Luke.
Yes,
Luke is an okay guy.
I must say,
who came back at the end? Who came back? Was it Luke or was it Ash or was it Lash?
Okay, I thought it was Luke, because when he's climbing out, he uses his left hand, and Luke is left-handed and Ash is right-handed.
Oh, I did not notice that.
But but when I was trying to figure out the ending, because I didn't exactly understand what happened, I did some looking around, and I saw the Lash theory, where they had become one person. I think that's a possibility.
Well, I think that's more of a possibility because towards the end of the game, the very end of the game, when Ash dies, Luke already takes on his power of hyper resonance. so I wouldn't put it past
One thing
them to
that
merge
really
together.
screws it up, though, is that you see Ash's body twitch.
You do, so...
You see it twitch for just a small second. But my big theory is that at the end of the game, I can't see Luke Lash walking past Tyr who's crying, and just go to Natalia. It's like, oh, it's you. It's like,
Ah.
I just can't see that happening. So my theory is that it's more Luke.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think it's more Luke. But I think it's Lash, but I think it's more Luke Lash.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that would also make sense that that he's left-handed, that maybe Luke's in control, or maybe Ash is in his head, like when
That's
when,
true. The sword
like when,
is on the left side, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
when Luke was inside Ash's head the first time Ash joins your party, maybe it's Luke, but he has Ash's memories, and can finally remember his past or something.
This is sort of a little off topic. One thing I like is that they kept Lorelai without a physical body. I like the Tales games love giving their summon spirits a face, and this time they did not. It was just a red weird cloud with a strange voice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was expecting a cartoon monster with
Some
with
beautiful anime man. That's what I was expecting.
Yeah.
I was expecting some kind of unusual monster, but with large eyes and a sing-song voice, and we didn't get any of that.
I thought of a handsome man, and you thought of some sort of epic monster.
Well, think about like what like Gnome and Ifrit are.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay, that's fair.
Thinking more along the lines of Maxwell.
Yeah.
We had three very different interpretations of Lorelai.
Which is what makes it really cool.
If anything, I was
Exactly.
inclined to think woman more than man. If anything.
It was a hit a man's face.
Yeah, I guess it
Yeah,
was,
it
but,
didn't
but, but,
man's
but like before the reveal, if I not knowing anything going in, I mean,
Lorelai
especially since I mean, as someone who has seen most of Gilmore Girls, I'm aware that Lorelai is a woman's name.
Is it
Yeah.
is it like a girl and guy name?
Maybe
Is
it's unisex. It must be. I mean, I'm used to it with women because of the Elite Four member in Pokemon Red and Blue.
Correct. Yeah. Mm-hmm. She uses ice
So that's-
Pokemon.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, okay, so we will never know, I guess.
Pokemon Gilmore Boys version and Pokemon Gilmore Girls version.
I
I'd play
Well,
that.
just assumed it was male because
I think
we
everybody
have
would play it
Yulia.
because of what the hell is this?
Yeah. Yeah, I think just because we had Yulia, I assumed that it was male. So I thought if there was a female figure in history, there would be a male deity or equivalent, I suppose. So, yeah, you only see Yulia very briefly as well. I think you see her in one cutscene.
Just in the beginning, yeah.
Just at the
that
very beginning.
part.
So,
Yeah, so and she was really pretty too. So you could see where Tyr gets it from generations and generations.
Van does not get it from her.
No, I hate the way Van looks though, man. It just is. Anyways, we'll get to that. Okay,
eyebrows.
so the God Generals. I have started with the Dist.
Hey, I
He's okay.
think I like Dist a lot for
He's like
comic
the
relief
teen
effect.
angst of Ion.
Oh yeah, he's just like, oh, I'm gonna get my revenge journal out and whine about things and things. I
actually
like him.
how completely he hates it all. Like he's like basically
Yeah.
Luke gone awry. He just hates life. He wants to snuff it out. He doesn't find a point to any of it. He's just completely lashing out.
Yeah, he's totally a slimy little git as well, where he's basically working between Mose and the God Generals and Van at all times, and then he's doing it because he wants to bring back Thomicry and he wants to resurrect Professor Nebelim, which is the whole Abyss replica factory. That's where that comes from. That's his dungeon. He's replicated the 4 of the 6 God Generals and Professor Nebelim. So there's that at least. But yeah, I think story-wise, he probably gets the least input along with Arietta, I would say, in terms of what...
Arietta was barely present. That when she came back, I had forgotten about her.
I'd forgotten about her because I'd forgotten that she'd fallen down the ravine with Largo and Lagretta. But yeah,
I hardly find Arietta still appealing. Maybe it's just the voice or just her role, and just I do like that. Why she was switched over to a God General instead of staying with Ion. Like there's actually reasons for it.
Yeah, and her
Oh,
return is
there's that.
her return is impactful. I don't think she's bad. I just had because she was gone for so long in like the middle third of the game that I had literally forgotten about her.
I think like Dist, Arietta's more tied up with the character than the plot. So
I feel like a lot of them are actually like.
Yeah, no, the God Generals correspond 1-to-1 with your playable characters.
They do, but Guy and Sync don't really align much at all. Guy is just
Well,
the first person to realise that Sync is a copy of the original Ion.
And
It's like number
Sync,
6 or something.
Sync had
Oh.
his glyph on Guy and was using them to control Guy or mess with his emotions for part of the beginning of the game.
Yeah,
One-to-one is still a stretch, though. They're
Still.
connected, but I don't think they're one-to-one.
all of the others have had past dealings with them, shall I say?
Okay, that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you can say that definitely. I just think that Arietta was kind of there because she thought
She's
that
young
Anis...
though, but like kind of like Anis though. Like she's kind of operating on a kind of more about me level.
when she declares to have a duel to the death with
I love
Anis,
that.
like it's just like two
Right.
13-year-old girls like, I'm gonna slap you. It's like, okay.
No,
It's
no,
like,
it's
I
on the
hate
death.
you.
Yeah.
I hate
I
you
hate
now.
you
We're
so
gonna fight to the
much.
death.
I
Pretty
even love
much,
the
yeah.
way like Anis's reading of Gloomietta. Like just the way she says it is just divine, very childlike.
She feels very sorry for her at the end of the day. I think
Yeah.
Arietta's probably my least favourite God General just because I think the same thing with Anis, and Mike's issue with Anis is that I don't really like young teen
yeah.
child characters, and she's just really annoying, like, oh, you killed mommy, I'm gonna make you
Yeah.
pay.
Yeah,
Like,
it was
really?
Got
weird
it.
the way she said "mommy."
Mommy? Like, really? Yeah. She is from Ferris, isn't she? So she was born on the Isle of Ferris, and when it was
Right.
Yeah.
destroyed, she was saved by some Ligers. So
Yeah.
Yeah, and then she got to talk to Monster. She fits in.
That was a
She
weird.
fits whatever niche.
yeah, I mean,
I know I didn't resent her presence. I don't think she should have been cut from the game necessarily, but
no.
yeah, whatever. She's not the best.
It's kind of like Moe's. Like at the end of the day, he's just kind of another foil. Or it's like Arietta does a good job. Probably even more than that, but oddly more enjoyable. And we'll just segue into that. Is Dist.
Wait,
Who
didn't we already talk about Dist?
A little bit, but one thing
Okay,
I want to
all
say
right.
is that I'm just glad that despite the amount of times you fight him, despite the amount of times he gets shot off like Team Rocket does, he never actually dies. He freezes a little bit to death. He almost freezes half to death. Jade does some sort of weird voodoo on him, I guess, and
It almost feels like Dist should be like the main villain of some other game, but like aside all these other people, he's almost comic relief and just I love watching Jade shut him down all the time.
Yeah.
he works really well as comic relief, and I'm glad they don't really make him a serious villain because he can't be at that point.
Yeah, you need something.
Yeah, they can make him with that personality, but with his background, I think they could have made him a serious villain because
Totally.
Mad scientist, this connected past with Jade, the Professor Nebulin thing. I think in an alternate universe, he's like the main villain of the game. He's the final boss in
If
some.
they played him
unwritten-
straight, he could have been very, very interesting. Yeah, as a
Yeah.
foil, especially to Jade, who is as serious to the plot as he is. But
Yeah.
they totally just went the other way and just made him just a waste. A good
Which is-
waste, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's a lot
I mean,
of
as someone who loves ridiculous things, I like Dist a lot.
Yeah.
fun. Okay, so Largo. Eh.
I thought he was
Yeah.
going to be the most boring one, and he
Yeah.
maybe he is
Kind
the
of
most
is.
boring one. But I think his connection to Natalia and his grudge are both real, and those things make him more interesting.
Yeah, he's your typical lone warrior of the group, and is just kind of like the honorable warrior as well. Kind of like don't
They play
beg
him
over
really
my dead
straight,
body.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean his
And
connection
so
with
his-
Natalia.
Yeah, and his connection with Natalia, it kind of works for him. He's already buried it in the past.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
it does work. It brings a little bit more out of him, but
Do you find it funny
otherwise,
that they
yeah.
make fun of Natalia for being blonde, and her royal parents aren't, whereas Largo's the exact same.
Well, I mean,
Exactly. Largo is
we
grown.
have to assume that the mother was blonde, but it was sort of funny. It's like,
Blondest, yeah.
It's like,
she had
like
good
a-
blonde genes in her.
of course you're not the princess. Like, princes and princesses always have black hair, and always have red hair, and your dad and your mom has black hair. It was, whatever. It was
The milkman came around.
She dyed it.
It was
Yeah.
a slightly Game of Thronesian,
I did like it,
very
though.
important attention to hair color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do like that Natalia does have this aspect of her past that really, that kind of really throws a wedge into things. It's interesting. It's definitely more typical or less typical than, I don't know, other games do princess plots. I
Yeah,
want to be
geez,
free.
Every main character in the game has a very troubled past in some way.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's Luke's lack of.
Yeah, right.
Okay, Lagretta.
Yeah,
Yeah.
again, she's liked here and is just
She fought
even
for
more.
love, and that just kind of really ruined it.
That killed it for me. Like the minute
Yeah.
I figured out that she loved Van, I think it was at the absorption gate. I'm just
Was
like,
it the hair?
really?
Yeah.
It
Oh,
wasn't the absorption gate. It was when you go. Oh, it's go when you go back to the gate and they find Van. They resurrect him again, and it's just like, really, like she could have been so much cooler. I think because she's a gunslinger. Like that's immediate cause for excellence. I don't know. There's
If
something I
you do
like about gunslingers.
if you do, of course, a side quest, you get to find out there's a bit more meat to it, but not much.
Yeah,
Basically, the score had predicted that her battalion or something like that was going to be wiped out, so she was kind of lashing out against that. But in
yeah,
the end, she's doing it all for Van because she loves Van.
right.
exactly. Yeah, I remember that side quest. Yeah, I mean, she's cool. She's a cool character. She's cool to look at and cool to fight.
The end,
But
she dies. You're just like, ah, all right,
yeah,
moving on.
really. Yeah, that bit really bugged me. Yeah.
Okay, so how do we feel about? We're already over that. I liked her outfit. That's about it.
Yeah, she
Van.
has... Oh,
Let's
we're
talk about Van.
skipping one. We're
We're
skipping
not
one.
skipping it. We're not skipping it.
We're skipping. Oh, okay. Oh, I see
We're
what you're
saving
doing
the
here.
best for last. Come on.
Of course you are. I'm so surprised you agree with me.
So we're talking about Van.
Yeah, I think Van is a good villain. He's one of the more evil villains in the Tales universe. Mose
He's
is probably
Very good, well-intentioned extremist, as the trope goes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
A villain that you can identify with a little bit, or at least understand their plot a little bit, is better than one that's evil for the sake of being evil. And
Yes.
and
Not
I
really
didn't
established
quite
whether or not his plan would work either.
yeah, I didn't quite understand why he was collapsing the different pillars in the first half of the game, but then, and I think I mentioned that in the previous podcast. But like shortly after the stopping point we had is when we figure out why he was doing that.
What
But
was it exactly?
Yeah.
Actually, I might have missed it. Was it because it would go against the score, or
no, it was oh shoot.
did it have to do with like getting phonons together or killing people?
It was like in order to rebuild all of it, they had to break it. They had to
Yeah,
break all of it
break it.
first.
Yeah,
Okay.
he wanted to just break the crust basically in one go because if he let it all
Yeah.
fall into the cliff off, the miasma would kill everybody and the world would sink into the mud. So I'm assuming that's why he did it. I mean, I think he is he's got good intention extremist. He's probably closer to someone like Yggdrasil and Symphonia, rather than say Duke in Vesperia, who's not a villain at all. That's
Yeah.
a stupid thing. I love Duke, but that's stupid.
I think he might be comparable to Douse in Tales of Fantasia, because
Yeah, he's definitely closer to the evil Douse. Well, Douse is even sympathetic as well. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, you when you understand what his plot is and why he's doing it, then you sympathize with him. But
One thing I think would have helped
evil
more.
actions he does are extremely evil and indefensible.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
One
so
thing
Douse
that I
is the
think
same
would have
way.
helped.
Agreed.
I think it would have helped way more if they showed just how badly people do cling to the score. They mentioned it a few times that people will look to it for like what to
If you
for,
ask
like, their
around,
birthday.
like if you ask around, especially like yeah, if you just talk to NPCs in Doth or in the major cities, it's there how people cling to the score. And I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
part of the reason that the entire that side quest we mentioned earlier, part of the reason why Frings is easily falls in love with Cecilia. Wait, no, is it Cecile?
Cecile.
Cecile, sorry.
Celia.
Well, part of the reason why he falls in love with her is because the circumstances of him meeting the love of his life were dictated in the score.
Yeah.
So like it hangs over everyone, and people that feel betrayed by the score or feel wronged by the score probably hate it that much more for it, including Van and
The
Lagretta.
fact- The fact that you get people trying to get back into war just because they want to fulfill it is
Yeah,
also
geez,
like you kind of get that. It's like this is madness. You people realize, right?
Yeah, man, like
That's more Moses doing, though, isn't it? I think,
And
especially
I
towards
actually,
the
yeah. I
Yeah,
actually do like that the Cecile and Frings actually does take you on a side quest to do a ceasefire after that.
Oh
Right,
yeah,
yeah.
it does.
Yeah, so like again, that's just like little bits of plot that are just absolutely everywhere in that stupid game.
Maybe Van just annoys me because I just don't believe that he's 28 years old and
dude,
His
know,
voice
I
drives me
just-
nuts too. It's a very strong voice, but it just sounds like, "What's wrong, Luke?
Yeah,
Join
exactly.
me."
he looks closer to 48 than 28.
God,
he
yeah.
definitely does. I mean,
I do like his final battle look though. That hair down was the way he should have been the entire time.
He's got some good final boss music as well, so we'll let him have that.
It was written by the Bump of Chicken dude too, I think. Like the final themes were all done by the Bump of Chicken dude.
They're just different versions of Karma. All flowed because Mirrors is as well. So
yeah.
The musical motifs are present in the game. It's maybe not as flawless as like a as like like riffs repeating in a Persona 4 or 5, but it's the final boss song was really good, and the music seems better than average for a Tales game in Abyss.
Yeah, on the most part.
Some of
it. Yeah.
I never want to go back to Sheridan again.
That's such a typical first village music, though, isn't it?
Oh, God.
Oh, wait, Sheridan. I thought you were talking about
they're both
Engage.
Matter.
Yeah.
They're both pretty. They're both really pitchy. Let's just put it that way.
Van's a good villain. He's not my favorite Tales-wise. So I think Duke is.
He's not, but
I
actually feel that about most God Generals. I like them a lot. They're not my favorite, but I still like them a lot, and they work as a really good foil.
As a group, they're a really nice collective.
Them as a group work really, really well. And certainly because they're thrust into a story that really helps, kind of push it along real good, too.
Yeah,
which is funny because Tales games are usually the other way around, where the villains kind of help the pretty lame story.
Yeah.
Okay. So, let's get to it. Best for last. Ash.
Oh, see, you are skipping one still.
What did I skip?
Sync.
No, we talked about him.
We did Dist twice.
Did we? I think I just talked about Dist twice. I think I meant Sync.
We can talk about Sync when we talk about Ion.
Alana, what do you have to say about Sync?
So Sync is my favourite for a strange reason, because I feel like a lot of people don't like Sync, because he's a little bit of a whingy teenager, I guess. So he's like, oh, I'm not Ion. I've been put in a pile. I was going to be thrown into the Mount Zalejo volcano, so I will kind of rebel. But I like the Ion copy thing, because I didn't realise it. I kind of half picked up on it the first playthrough I did.
I realized that before realizing the Largo Natalia connection, which is maybe sad.
They weren't that good about that one. I think he just kind of asks her what her name is and just kind of gets taken back a bit, but they don't really talk about it, so you kind of forget about it.
Yeah, I think
that one was good.
Maybe
the one was way too soon.
Yeah, I think so, and I think maybe I like Dist because he's probably the hardest one to fight, because he's so quick and he's such a pain in the backside. But...
Or in the last time you fight him, that is.
The hardest one you fight him in is probably the first time with Largo, because you're kind of like, which one?
Largo and Sync is a unusually tricky boss fight at that point in the game.
I don't know. I like his design. I like his kind of purpose, and I like the fact that he basically, ironically, becomes a kind of Ion when they're going around as the New Order of Lorelei before they decide that Mose is going to become the phone master. So he's like the fake preacher. But
least inspired replacement possible.
Exactly, but I think that's quite ironic. I wonder whether he did it deliberately or whether it was just kind of, But I like Sync a lot. And I like his connections with Ion, because I like Ion a lot as well, so maybe it falls hand in hand with that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. But even going back to Ion though, they serve as almost a perfect kind of opposite to each other, where Ion does have so much purpose. In fact, he dies for his purpose. His last reading of the score is what helps them out in the last part of the game. Whereas I think just kind of wants to end it all. Best for last, I decided to say, well, personally for me anyways, I saved the best for last, in which case I think Ash is probably my favorite God General. What do we think about Ash?
I'm going to let Mike go first, because I want to be controversial.
Well, his circumstances are a little crazy.
So his attitude kind of makes sense?
Yeah, I think his, I mean, you can't. I won't say it's justified exactly, but his attitude does make sense. Sure, it's like It
must be weird when you look at yourself like that. It is not your twin. It is literally you.
Yeah, it's like Hey, we had this guy replace your cushy life so you could live a so you could live a hard life because of some grand plan that is way above your head.
Yeah.
That's kind of terrible. And him resenting Luke and being angry at basically everyone is I think is not so bad, but
One thing I like is that Luke never seems to measure up. If Luke's trying his
right.
best, he doesn't care. If Luke is really down on himself, he thinks he's pathetic, so he just doesn't see that part of himself in there. So yeah, so Ash is probably easily the most traumatic to me just because I like that he is supposed to be the hero in his own story and he's not. He is literally left out and he's doing his own thing, which is great and really interesting, but he was supposed to be the hero and instead it's Luke and everybody else who actually carry it on. That's usually how I see it.
Yeah, I think.
And he does do a lot of stuff behind the scenes. Like basically right when you meet him, he's already betrayed Ven and he's doing his own plot, which is he's actually a good guy.
Yeah.
He acts like a bad guy because he's always just so unrelentingly mean, but he's always off on his own, but he's actually, just as good as you guys are.
Definitely. I see now I reassess it a little bit. I don't like Ash as much as many people do. I think his attitude really grates on me. His kind of
That's fair.
I completely get that I think it's like Mike was saying essentially that, yeah, I'm not going to justify some of the things that he says or does. And it's kind of the things that he says or does to Luke that really wind me up, because how far do you want to, I totally get that Luke has completely stolen his life, but he's not done it intentionally. And maybe
like
some
that
of
Luke
the
tries
things,
to put him back, right?
yeah, and I think as well, maybe something that irritates me about Luke is the fact that Luke has to justify it by saying, "Oh, I shouldn't have stolen this from you. I'm a replica. I'm inferior to you." And then that just drives Ash more insane. I think Ash is like the most overly done trope, like overworn tsundere trope ever. Like ridiculously kind of like, I'm a nice person, but I'm going to be horrible all the time and be cruel
His
to
role in the
kind.
story is far from typical, but I'll admit his personality is definitely something we've seen billions of times.
But almost like overdone. I think maybe that's why it grates on me, because he's just such a grumpy little sod all the time that I just
Said it even better with your accent, I won't lie.
But yeah, I see he does do a lot of good things, and it's nice when he's actually talking to Luke normally. It's fine. I like him, and I like him when he's with Natalia, and I like the bit where Luke takes Ash back to see his parents, and Ash is freaking out, and then everyone leaves the room, and he just almost goes back into being the Luke from 7 years ago. So there are flashes of like really nice character in there, but I think, and despite everything that he does really well, he kind of grates on me, and maybe I think that's just personal preference, because I think it's just an attitude thing. I just don't really like. I don't. I completely. I think I know, because I think he's completely. He's not justified, but it's like, if you had your entire life ripped away from you, how would you react? And basically,
that's
you're
the thing.
being used.
I love to think about the game from Ash's perspective, and especially by the time you get to Eldrant, you finally fight him, and you, the hero, lose. You, in fact, even end up dead.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I don't think there's anything more tragic than you and your buddies, your clone and his buddies going off to save the day, and you get left behind to kind of do the last heroic deed.
I'm definitely not saying I dislike him, because I do really like him, but I think that his attitude annoys me, and I get it, and I like the bit in Eldrant. I think Eldrant is the real comeuppance, and it kind of rewards you for wading through all of the kind of grottiness that he expels out onto Luke. So it's a nice end for him. Well, it's a nice end for his arc, but it's horrible as well, because that bit, mate, it's really sad.
So, yeah. So, I totally get why you don't like him, and that's totally fair. I never really liked him as a character. I do like that apparently he's actually kind of dumb sometimes.
Yes, he
kind
is.
of a fun quirk
that
he's a little bit dumb.
Yeah.
He makes a lot of weird mistakes. I think he's a pretty great tragic hero, and so, like, whoever comes back in the end, I mean, it's all pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just being a bit controversial or
No.
No,
I
no,
like
no,
that.
no, no. We
The
need some
podcast
Tails
wouldn't
hot
be
takes.
interesting unless, yeah.
Yeah.
It
No,
wouldn't
I
be
can
interesting if we all had the same opinion.
We
exactly.
should just do an
No,
entire episode of unpopular opinions.
That'd be great.
Hmm.
You said,
well, you'd
okay,
be
so
fine.
how does Tales of the Abyss rank overall for you guys?
Oh boy.
What's a good grade to give it? And what's a star value, a letter grade, a medal?
Okay. Um, it is 37 stars out of an undetermined number,
Mm.
and it is a. I think it's. I think it's in my top 3 now. My top 3 is Fantasia, Abyss, and Vesperia in some order now. In an undetermined order, yeah. So, I really really liked this game, especially since I had become a little Tales jaded because I played like the first few hours of Graces and Zillia and Zestiria and didn't love all of them. Wasn't into all of it.
Do
But
Graces just for the end game content. It's so much fun.
I might yet revisit those. And but I think that Abyss is significantly better than Symphonia or Legendia, which are its year contemporaries, and about as good as my favorite Tales games. So I'm very positive on this game.
Good.
Alana?
I will say now, I would not recommend playing Graces. Only play it if you're gonna have fun with it. Oh,
Literally, yeah, just for the gameplay. That's all it's worth to me.
And the F-Art gameplay is really fun, but it does not need to exist. I love Richard, but why does that arc exist? Why? It does so many wrong... Oh, anyway.
Man, this is a Tales of the Abyss episode, and we're talking about Legendia and Graces and Zillia
Alana
2.
felt inspired enough to actually say that, so I gotta give her a pass on that.
Yeah,
Maybe we should just do a repeat of our favorite Final Fantasy episode and determine the best Tales game that way.
Oh, I'm going to go down in a blaze then. Because I have... Yeah, so... Abyss is in my top 3. It's top 3 or 4 now, because my 4 are... Originally, my top 3 were Exilia as my favourite, which is always really strange to explain to people, because it does do away with so much, and so much of it is brown and linear, but I just had the click with the characters that, I don't know.
Repeat of Zillia really did that for me, that there's a lot more than meets the eye on that game.
Exactly. So there's a lot. I think they missed out a lot in the game. So Abyss does lore really well in-game. Exilia does lore really good outside of the game. Exilia 2 undoes a little bit of its greatness, unfortunately. So,
so it's the
I
Final
love the
Fantasy
character,
X 2.
but for what it's worth, though, like Zillia 2, I like the character quest the most, because at least it actually fleshed out what was already there, and it actually did somewhat make it more interesting.
A couple of them, yeah. I don't like what they did to Gaius and Muse to a degree, but yeah. Anyway, that's different. So yeah, my top 4 are Exilia, Abyss, Vesperia, and Bassaria. So
okay, I'll add a. I was go ahead. Sorry.
I think
just
Abyss
naming all these things and just hoping our fans know what we're talking about.
Hopefully.
So I think Abyss and Exilia kind of swap between 1 and 2 for me, because whereas I probably prefer the characters slightly in Exilia and the battle system in Exilia, and
you really get a different flavor with each game, and certainly Abyss being the only game in the series that has as fleshed out a story as it does is hard to rank because of it.
Yeah, exactly. So Abyss has got the story, it's got a really nice, morally corrupt set of characters, and it does everything so well. So I think if you're going to recommend one Tales game to everybody, I think Abyss is the best one, because everyone criticizes the series for being the fast food kind of nice characters, fun gameplay, don't really pay attention to much of the story. But Abyss is the one entry that you can probably go, look, this is the whole package kind of thing. It's the only one that you could probably safely give to most RPG fans who've never played Tales and go, this is the best one you should play, because it's got the whole package. So Abyss is always ranked really highly, and I remember before it came out in Europe, I got really I followed it from its American release in 2006 and waited.
Oh, I remember smelling the box as I came home. I was just so excited to finally be playing it, and I read the instruction book like a billion times on the way home.
Yeah, so it came out in America in 2006, and I had to wait till 2012 to get my hands on it, because we didn't get the PS2 version. So I remember getting really excited when it got announced, and it was the one game that I got really excited for, and it didn't disappoint me at all. So it's really good because it's a Tales game that makes me think. I think it's the only Tales game that makes me think as well. Or like Berseria might have the next best story, but it's not a story that's going to make you think. It's more of a kind of this is what we're doing. But
yeah, it's an an eventful tale, whereas
yeah,
Abyss kind of throws in a lot of quandaries into it about the environment, the politics, the religious
It's
elements to it.
yeah,
It's a lot.
yeah. Abyss comes with high recommendations, so I think it's probably the most accessible if you can get past the battle systems. Probably age the least out of like
You can
Symphonia.
have the most fun with it if you know how to merc free run at least.
Yeah, exactly. And
At least you
Vesperia
can
is
have
pretty
some
much
good
the
fun
same.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
the free run I think puts the combat in Abyss miles ahead of Symphonia, even though
Oh
it's basically
yeah.
even though it's almost exactly the same if you remove free run. But
Yeah.
I'm basically in agreement. Abyss is a very accessible Tales game. The battle system has its issues with with resource management and targeting and a couple other things that are done better in later games. But it's functional at least. I don't think it gets in the way of having fun with the story. And the story is really more interesting than just about any Tales story for all the reasons you said. It's even though it's linear, it has the most fleshed out world of any Tales game, and the mystical and political and religious elements are all there. There's a large cast of characters that's interesting. Yeah, it comes highly recommended. I think Vesperia would be my clear favorite if its final act was better. But
Yep.
and Yuri is probably my favorite Tales protagonist.
Oh
But
yeah.
but
Not hard.
yeah, but
He's
in the
yeah.
story and characters department, this is a really excellent PS2/3DS RPG.
Yeah, and at the very least, the handheld one remedies a lot of the loading time issues with the PS2 version. So as far as a
Right.
handheld RPG goes, I think this is a real easy recommendation.
Yeah, geez, both Dragon Quest
Yeah.
8 and Tales of the Abyss got way better in their 3DS versions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, don't make me rebuy that.
Except they got rid of Super Saiyan Dragon Quest.
What?
The Super Saiyan
Yeah.
looking thing.
Well, yeah, when the main character goes high tension, they removed that character model,
Aw.
I think.
Oh, that's fine. I can deal with that.
I thought it was a fun Easter egg.
Mhm.
Okay, so I guess that wraps up Tales of the Abyss. Hopefully we do another Tales game. A lot of people, especially our fans, seem to really resonate with the Tales series, and who can blame them? It's a very fun series. For the most part, does not have a very easy dud among them. Maybe Hysteria, but it's a topic for another day.
I think the original version of Destiny's pretty bad.
Yeah.
But I'm
Yeah.
whatever. I might just be a jerk that doesn't like
That
games
could be
when I'm
forgotten if
79.
they just released the PlayStation 2 version.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, really.
The director's cut of Tales of Destiny looks so good.
But they'll never do it, and I don't know
Ugh.
why. I hope to God, Buddha, Satan, whoever's listening, please release it on Steam.
Yeah,
Get
they
it
take
out
away
there.
they take away some of the good plot points, but I don't know a lot about Destiny. It's
That's the
one of
thing,
the
though.
ones
Like,
that
I
I've-
feel because back then they didn't really have to animate cutscenes for every single scene. They just wrote stuff in a text box. They could have way more time for exposition. And I think that's what really worked for Abyss. Nothing really happens in a lot of the game cutscenes, even though it has such a good story.
Mhm.
It's a lot of it's just exposition, but like I feel now because you have to animate the characters moving, get a good camera angle, kind of move them in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, video games a lot of the time are all text and very little subtext, because it's not as easy to hide subtext in a video game when a lot of the time, especially in older games, all you really have are those text boxes.
Yeah. But yeah, so you got 3 for 3. We all recommend Tales of the Abyss. What's the next game Retro is covering?
Right. Okay. Next week we have a couple episodes about Darksiders, which is the PS3, Xbox 360, PC Zelda-ish game that I have not played, but Peter Triesenberg is a big fan of it, and he's hosting those episodes.
Can you give us a teaser? Are you enjoying it?
I'm not on it.
Oh.
No.
Oh, okay, never mind.
No,
Fine.
when none of us are on it.
No,
This
none
is
of
like
us
the
are on it.
first-
I've been on like 20 episodes in a row. I had to get the hell off.
This is like me and the Mike and this is like me and Mike having a break. We're
Yeah.
like, well, we're not going to be on for a month.
Oh, thank
Well,
goodness.
good way to end off on Tales of the Abyss then, which is just like plop, 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 plop.
Might be back for June. Not telling
Can't
you
quit
that.
I will be back for June because that's a
A good game.
well, okay, I'm not sure you know which one we're talking about, but because the main
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
you're I think you might be thinking of the July game because
Oh, what is it?
the July game is still a secret, but the June game is Dragon Quest V, and I am playing that with a couple other RPG fan people right now. I'm in the
Yeah,
very
okay,
I'm in the very beginning still, but I'll finish it in time for the podcast recording.
I can't promise you I'll play it, but I promise I'll listen to the podcast.
Oh, that's sweet of you.
So if you guys have any questions, comments, hey, even recommend us a title, email us at retro@rpgfan.com. If you are listening to us from the site, we're also on Twitter at rpgfancom, and we're also on Facebook, rpgfancom as well. So wherever you're listening in from, join us on any of the other social media. We actually post differently depending what you're tuning in on. Please, sorry, I post a lot of cool, weird stuff on Twitter just because it's easier that way. And comment on our boards if you're not there. We have amazing forums. We have a lot of people, great people using them. It's how I was discovered, but I still applied. And review us on iTunes. And also, too, I'm still doing Tales of Symphonia / Tales of Stephonia on every Wednesday. Yeah. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you had as much of a good time talking about it as we enjoyed geeking out about it. Bye!
See ya.